Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and every once in a while I like to revisit one of the hot topics that all the crypto police hate when you talk about it. Well, that's what makes it interesting a lot of the time. So we're going to talk about the XRP, the pre-allocation theory. I know it's awful. I'm an awful person for even talking about this, but that's okay. So the starting point for this is to show you this. This is from Ripple's website. The majority of Ripple's XRP supplies in escrow. Ripple placed $55 billion in there. Here's the numbers right now. The total XRP held for Ripple, $5.6 billion. Total XRP distributed, $50 billion. So that's what's out in the wild. Total XRP in escrow, $44.3 billion. So Ripple is playing with this amount right now, and I'm assuming they use that for conducting their business. But the escrow, this theory centers around the idea that parts of this escrow are pre-allocated to people or entities. And we can prove that parts of the XRP that's either held here or held here are pre-allocated through option contracts. So the first one that we know about, for 1,000% sure that did exist, it doesn't necessarily exist now because the SEC had a deal with R3. It was a deal that was made early on where they had an option to buy 1.04 billion XRP, okay? So they did have an option. There was a lawsuit. The lawsuit was settled. It was secret, so we don't know if there's still any options or whatever. But we also know, so that's 1 billion. We also know that Greg Kidd, this is when I did the interview with Greg Kidd. We know that Greg Kidd had an option on 1 billion XRP, okay? Don't know if he still has it, if that's still a thing, but the fact is we know of one company and one individual who had an option on 1 billion of the XRP, or he had one and they had 1.04. Now, at the end of this, I'll show you one rumor, is not confirmed, a rumor of another entity, major entity, that has a potential option on 5 billion, but that's purely a rumor, okay? So here, Brad Combs of Digital Perspectives, I think this is he kind of originated this theory. But here's a little tweet thread, and he says, first Greg Kidd, 1 billion option contract, then R3. Now, he's saying 5 billion here. That article said 1. I don't know if this is correct or not, but 5 billion XRP option contract. Third, Brad Garlinghouse confirms they still do option contracts. And I think that was in a video that he did with, and maybe I'll show it here in a second. Then we've got the lawsuit in 2020, which we think is over the XRP. Fifth, speculation. I don't believe only Greg and R3 were the smart enough to receive option contracts. I'm the same way. Bob weighs in on it. Greg Kidd was really smart. Wealth and XRP was nearly worthless at the time he joined. I don't know the specifics of his deal, but Greg is always launching new businesses and had many valuable ideas for the XRP ledger. R3 was a rushed, horrible deal that should never have been signed. It was intended to be a joint venture. It ended up being, in my opinion, nothing really, but the contract was signed, in my opinion, without adult supervision, then led to a lawsuit. All right, so we've got that. So then there's this. This is when Brad comes back. What was the date on this? Let's see. Does it show me a date? April 25th, 2019. Bob Way has just recently reappeared in the XRP community, but here they're talking about the XRP escrow, and he says this.
For us to move into the next point, which is understanding the 55 billion escrow. So Look, I just did a recent interview, really great interview with SBQR Media, who are fantastic, with Lee on that show. It's a team of them over there, and they do some really nice work. And he was remarking about the fact that escrow, and you and I touched on this a little bit yesterday, so it's for the audience, obviously, to bring them up to where we've been, that the escrow can be pre-allocated in contracts. So an entity could go out and say, look, I want 1 million XRP next March or what have you. And I think that's an important thing to understand through all of this, because, as we see, as you really, obviously, you have brought an enormous amount of clarity. I told you yesterday when we spoke, I absolutely got lights coming on in my warehouse. I mean, it's unbelievable. But, I think it's important to understand that is a key part of what they're doing. So if you understand the quarterly report, Crypto Eddie, who's in Japan, has an XRP channel. She's fantastic. She shouted us out for our interview today. And she also broke down the Q1 report and said it was like at the rate that they sold currently, it's another 200 and some odd months, at that pace before it would go away. And I think that was accurate of her to say, but I also think it's important to remember about escrow that there could be portions along the way here that are allocated for entities like banks who understand we're not going to be like the record company. Put us on until we're going to get our blockchain together and all our this together and get their stuff in-house together. But it's waiting for them at a certain point as well. So is that a little too optimistic, or is that fair to say?
So let me expand on that a little bit, but that's generally fair to say. And that's one of the amazing things about these escrow features. So let me give you just a little bit of background. I don't know how much time we have.
Okay, so bottom line is he acknowledges in general what Brad's saying there. Then you got this from Chris Larson. This is Chris Larson back in 2014 describing some of the things they're able to do with the escrow.
That's actually good for everybody. And then the second part is, since we don't have to distribute it to validators, Ripple Labs can give it to business development partners, to consumers broadly, to people globally. So two things what we've been doing, which we like, is we've been incenting market makers with XRP forgivable loans. It's essentially the vehicle that we're currently using.
In that case, that's pre-allocated loans, I guess.
But we feel that incents, say, big currency traders, high-frequency traders to actually be active market makers on Ripple. That provides liquid markets. That's good for everybody. Gives them an incentive in the long-term success of the network. In some ways, exactly what Visa did, is they sort of gave out ownership of Visa to key banks to participate in the system. We think that's good. And the other cool thing that we've been doing that we like, we've been distributing XRP to consumers through a partnership that we have, sponsorship with the World Community Grid. World Community Grid is a really neat project. It's sponsored by I
won't get in the weeds on that. But then there's this. This is Brad Garlinghouse. I said, does anybody really believe out of the all the people and financial institutions that Ripple has met with, only Greg Kidd and R3 bought an option, pre-allocated XRP? If you do, go buy my igloo in South Georgia. It's still available at a terrible price. Listen to this. This is Brad Garlinghouse.
Joey and I sat in a meeting not that long ago with, some of the largest institutional money in the world trying to get smart about crypto.
These videos.
But as they enter the market, you have fixed supply, increasing demand. You don't have to go to MIT to know what's going to happen. Institutions, Joey and I. You
don't have to go to MIT to figure out what's going to happen. Of course that they would do that. Then this is an interview that he did with Julia Chatterley.
It's quite funny. One of the big questions that I was asked when I was talking to people about XRP, they said, what price do you sell XRP to the financial institutions that you're dealing with here? Do you give them a discount, and is there a lockup? Can you answer those questions? Because this kept coming up.
Yeah, sure. So, let's use MoneyGram as the example. When MoneyGram is moving money from US dollar to Mexican peso, they're buying at market. They're not, there's no special sweetheart deal there. There are times when we work with institutional investors who might say, hey, we want to buy $10 million of XRP, and we would have lockups that would prevent them from dumping. We don't want some other party buying a whole lot of XRP and dumping it on the market. And so we would hypothetically have restrictions about what they could sell and what, how often. And usually those are based upon volume in the market.
Yeah, so you might give them it slightly cheaper, but you say to them, hey, you're not allowed to sell it for 6 months, let's say, or a year.
Yeah, correct. That's basically correct.
So there you have it. Here's Brad Combs on BitBoy floating the idea.
And it is speculative, right? But it is like an ultimate goal kind of thing. And if you think about the idea of bridge work, or XRP working as a bridge currency in the respect that you just described, like I said, if every country's holding a little bit of it, or their central bank's already holding some of it, this gets quite interesting too, because if you go into that summary judgment, they have pre-allocated contracts, but we don't know exactly how many and to whom. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of speculation about who those pre-allocated contracts of XRP could be to. And it gets quite interesting if we get clarity and then aliens? We find out. What's that?
Or some of these contracts could possibly aliens?
Well, how about central banks?
Oh, right? Okay. Well, those are people. Okay.
Yeah, those are people too, but certainly aliens there for sure, because they just look at us like cattle, right? But if those things come to light and we learn those things, it makes so much sense how XRP could sit as a bridge currency and serve to unlock dormant dollars around the world, but never threaten any one country's money at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a fascinating argument. I think ultimately it aligns with the wholesale CBD narrative that I've been told a long time ago, where things are going. That when I started kind of looking into XRP and giving it a fair shot, that was some stuff that came to me that was like, oh, that actually makes sense.
Now, I forgot to give the warning, wild speculation. They're talking XRP pre-allocation to central banks. Very dangerous conversation. This is a quote from Joel Katz, David Schwartz, May 25th, 2017. Anyone who gets XRP from us as a part of some deal with a lockup as their incentives aligned with has their incentives aligned with ours. They want the long-term price of XRP to go up too. It's not just some crazy theory. And then I told you at the beginning of the video, wanted to let you know, this was Kendra Hill who disappeared off social media. This is not confirmed, but she says this. A partnership years in the making in a deal which was negotiated in 2015. Amazon holds stake in 5 billion XRP. Currently, that XRP is in a locked account until the partnership is made public. Why has this been kept a secret? Let me first respond to this by asking you a question. Why does the price of XRP not move when new partnerships are announced? The answer to my question is that XRP has no use cases. Currently, this will soon change. When it does, the price will rise quickly. They are very speculative. They're very selective when announcing new partnerships publicly. So to answer your question, it is in the best interest of everyone involved to keep the price as low as possible, allowing major investors to buy in early, while also pushing away investors from the lower class. When the Amazon partnership is announced, the world will be talking about XRP. Millions of people will buy XRP on that day, so this partnership is being saved for a later date. Sorry to freak you out with the wild speculation, folks. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family. Be careful. You might have to whisper XRP pre-allocation around the house. You could upset people. You could get the crypto police involved.